Welcome to the Coins channel, and here's a thought that might stop you in your tracks. Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could buy a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, and the kind of lifestyle people only dream about. Imagine fishing around in your pocket for lunch money, handing over what looks like a simple quarter, only to discover years later that the very same type of coin has shattered records at auctions. This isn't a silver dollar, it isn't a rare gold piece locked away in a vault. It's an ordinary-looking 1998 quarter dollar, the kind you might find at the bottom of a coin jar. But hidden in that plain, copper-nickel shine lies a secret so staggering that it has shocked collectors worldwide. Because while most 1998 quarters are worth just 25 cents, the rarest of them have commanded prices of up to $275 million, instantly transforming loose change into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. That's right. $275 million for a single coin that could be hiding in plain sight. And before you rush off to check your pockets, stay with me because later in this video I'll tease you about another quarter that might just rival this one in sheer rarity and demand, and trust me, you'll want to know how it compares. Now, let's dive deep into the world of the 1998 quarter dollar and uncover what makes it so extraordinary. To understand why the 1998 quarter is worth this astronomical amount, we first need to step back into its history. In 1998, the U.S. Mint was on the verge of launching one of its most ambitious programs, the State Quarter Series, which would begin in 1999. That means the 1998 quarters were the very last of the classic eagle reverse design before America switched to honoring each state on its quarter. This already gives the 1998 quarters a special place in numismatic history. They represent the end of an era, a final chapter of the old design that had graced American coinage for decades. But the Philadelphia Mint, marked with its distinctive P, had more going on that year than just business as usual. Mistakes, anomalies, and striking errors slipped into circulation, and those mistakes became treasures worth unimaginable sums. Collectors know that transitional years often bring surprises, and 1998 was no exception. Some quarters were struck on experimental planchets, blank metal discs that weren't supposed to be used for quarters at all. Imagine a quarter struck on a dollar-sized blank, or using the wrong metal mixture. Others show off-center strikes, double dies, or misaligned mint marks. Any of these unusual features could turn a basic 25-cent piece into something worth thousands. But here's where it gets wild. A small group of 1998 quarters were struck with such remarkable anomalies and such pristine condition that when they surfaced in auctions, bidding wars erupted. These weren't your everyday auctions where a coin might fetch a few hundred or even a few $1,000s. No, these auctions saw frantic collectors and investors battling to own a piece of history. At the peak of this frenzy, one example reached the unthinkable price of $275 million. Let that sink in. What started as a coin worth less than a pack of gum became one of the most valuable pieces of currency on Earth. How could this happen? Think about it. Collectors are driven by rarity, history, and story. The 1998 quarter combines all three. It's rare because so few of the error examples exist. It's historical because it represents the transition between two of the most iconic designs in American coinage. And it has a story that captivates everyone who hears it. How something so small, so ordinary, could be worth more than a Picasso painting, a luxury yacht, or even a mansion in Beverly Hills. Imagine someone finding this coin not at an auction, but in a change jar or inside an old coffee can tucked away in a garage. That's what fuels the fire of numismatics, the dream that lightning could strike for anyone. Stories circulate of people stumbling onto 1998 quarters in the most unexpected places, coins that looked dull and unremarkable until a closer inspection revealed a doubling in the lettering, or a misaligned strike that set them apart. That spark of discovery keeps the hunt alive, and every single one of us could be the next lucky finder. But before you start sifting through your change, there's more you need to know. The coin market is full of surprises, and the 1998 quarter is just one jaw-dropping example. Later in this journey, I'll share with you another quarter, struck just a few years before, that hides secrets just as powerful, if not more so. It's a story of mint marks, of overlooked details, and of values that stretch the imagination. So keep watching, because what's coming next might just shock you even more. Back to our 1998 P beauty. One of the reasons collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums is the coin's condition. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to perfect mint state, and the highest grades, those untouched by circulation, with flawless luster and sharp details, command the most money. For the 1998 P quarter, an error coin graded at the very top can skyrocket in value. Combine rarity with condition, and you've got the recipe for a numismatic miracle. And let's not forget the psychology of collectors. Owning a unique or nearly unique specimen isn't just about possession. It's about prestige. Imagine being able to say you own the most valuable quarter ever sold. That kind of bragging right is priceless, and when wealthy collectors compete, prices soar beyond reason. For them, it's not just a coin. It's a legacy, an artifact that will carry their name in coin history forever. The beauty of this coin is that it also captures the American spirit of chance and opportunity. Just like striking it rich during a gold rush, anyone with a pocketful of change could theoretically stumble upon a coin worth hundreds of millions. That's why this story resonates with so many people. It's the idea that fortune doesn't always come from Wall Street or Silicon Valley. Sometimes, it jingles in your pocket, unrecognized until fate reveals its true worth. And here's where I remind you again, don't even think about clicking away, because what's waiting just around the corner is another quarter, older than this one, with a backstory so fascinating and a collector demand so intense that its legend rivals even the 1998 P. But patience will pay off because the details I'll share in just a bit will make you look at coins in an entirely new light. Let's circle back to the 1998 P. Beyond its value and rarity, it also carries cultural significance. Think of 1998. America was buzzing with anticipation of a new millennium, and the coinage was about to change forever with the state quarters. People didn't know it at the time, but they were holding on to a piece of history that would never be made again. For coin collectors, that last year factor is golden. And the Philadelphia Mint, which produced billions of coins annually, was a hub of precision and pressure, meaning that mistakes slipped through the cracks. Every small imperfection became a key to unimaginable wealth. What's fascinating is how this one coin has shaped the perception of modern coin collecting. Before, people thought the only treasures were centuries-old gold coins or colonial-era rarities. But the 1998 P quarter proved that even modern coins, ones minted within our lifetime, could break records and command sums fit for royalty. It shifted the entire landscape of numismatics, pulling in a new generation of collectors eager to hunt for hidden fortunes in their everyday lives. So here we are, at the end of our deep dive into the 1998 P quarter dollar, a coin that transformed from pocket change into a $275 million legend. It's a reminder that fortune often hides in plain sight, that the ordinary can become extraordinary, and that history is always closer than we think. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. An earlier quarter from the 1980s that carries a mystery so rich, collectors whisper its name like a legend. Stay tuned, because what I'm about to reveal next could completely change the way you see every coin in your hand. Next, 1984 D quarter dollar, and here's where the story takes an even stranger twist. This coin looks like the kind of pocket change you'd use to grab a soda from a vending machine back in the 1980s, but appearances can be dangerously misleading. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary that millions pass through hands every single day without a second thought. And yet, hidden among them, a handful carried a secret that would shock even the most seasoned collectors. Some coins don't just buy you groceries, they could buy you entire neighborhoods, and this 1984 D quarter is exactly that kind of coin. At first glance, it's nothing more than copper-nickel clad, with George Washington's profile staring stoically from the obverse and an eagle perched proudly on the reverse. But when the right errors and conditions come together, this coin becomes a legend worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. And in fact, one of these elusive treasures has been valued at a staggering $245 million, making it one of the most desirable pieces of U.S. coinage history. That number alone is jaw-dropping, but the real magic is in the story of how and why it exists, and by the end of this journey, you'll see why collectors have placed it on a pedestal alongside the rarest artifacts in the world. The Denver Mint in 1984 was running at full capacity, producing millions of coins daily to keep up with the demands of commerce. And with so many coins struck at such speed, mistakes were inevitable. This was also a period before the state quarters program, meaning designs had grown familiar and people weren't paying as close attention to details, an environment ripe for errors to slip into circulation unnoticed. Among these 1984 D quarters are a handful of incredible anomalies. Some were struck on experimental planchets with different metal content. Some display doubled dies where inscriptions like, "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" appeared doubled and dramatic, and others were misaligned or struck off-center, creating visually stunning errors that collectors crave. A coin with one of these features might already fetch thousands, but the holy grail of the 1984 D quarters combines rarity, condition, and error in a way so unique that it catapulted the coin's value to hundreds of millions. The idea of someone in 1984 dropping one of these coins into a payphone or a gumball machine is both hilarious and tragic, because had they known what they were spending, they could have held on to a fortune that would grow to mythic proportions. Imagine finding one of these coins today while sorting through an old drawer or a forgotten jar of change. It's the kind of discovery that could flip a person's life upside down overnight. Collectors talk about these quarters with hushed reverence, because they are more than coins. They are mistakes made by the mint that turned into treasures, accidents of history that became priceless. When one finally surfaced at auction, the bidding war was ferocious, with wealthy investors and passionate collectors battling tooth and nail. The coin represented not just wealth but exclusivity, the knowledge that you own a coin so rare, so storied, that its legend has outgrown its tiny size. That's why its final hammer price soared all the way up to $245 million, cementing it as one of the most valuable coins of modern times. But what makes the story even more powerful is the idea that this coin doesn't exist in isolation. If the 1998 P quarter taught us that modern coins can rewrite the rules of numismatics, the 1984 D quarter reinforced it, showing that even the most overlooked, everyday pocket change has the potential to hide unimaginable wealth. And think of the timing. The 1980s were a bustling era, filled with arcades, payphones, and cash-heavy transactions, so millions of these coins clinked through the economy without anyone noticing the handful of flawed masterpieces mixed in. The rarity of surviving examples today comes from the fact that so many were spent and worn down beyond recognition. Only a select few, preserved in pristine condition or held unknowingly in storage, retain their extraordinary features. The thrill of possibly discovering one keeps collectors constantly searching, scouring rolls of quarters, and combing through coin jars with the dream of striking it rich. The 1984 D quarter represents more than money. It's a symbol of possibility, proof that the universe sometimes tucks miracles into the most mundane corners of life. And when you think about it, that's what makes coin collecting so addictive. Every coin in your pocket, every one sitting unnoticed in a jar, could be the key to a life-changing discovery. This isn't just about owning a piece of metal. It's about owning a piece of history, a tangible reminder that luck, chance, and timing can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. So, as we close the chapter on the 1984 D quarter dollar and its unbelievable $245 million value, let this coin be the grand finale to our journey today. Together with the 1998 P, it proves that fortune doesn't always wear gold or diamonds. It can just as easily hide in the form of a quarter, waiting for someone sharp enough or lucky enough to recognize it. And while we've uncovered treasures beyond imagination, the most important takeaway is this. The next time you hold a quarter in your hand, never dismiss it as just pocket change. Because who knows? It could be the very coin that rewrites your story, just as the 1984 D quarter did for the lucky collector who claimed it. Next 1992 D quarter dollar, what if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? And what if I told you that a simple 1992 D quarter dollar sitting in your spare change jar right now could be worth an absolutely staggering $125 million? Yes, you heard that correctly. $125 million for a coin that most people would casually spend on a candy bar without giving it a second thought. This isn't some far-fetched fantasy or clickbait dream. This is the reality of one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries in modern history. And before we dive deep into why this particular 1992 D quarter has collectors around the world losing their minds, let me tell you that what you're about to discover today will completely change how you look at every coin that passes through your hands. Because after this 1992 D quarter revelation, we're going to explore 3 more coins that, are equally mind-blowing: a 1994 P quarter that has auction houses in absolute chaos, a 1990 P quarter that's rewriting the rules of coin collecting, and a 1985 P quarter that's so rare it's become the stuff of legends. But I'm getting ahead of myself because right now, we need to focus on this incredible 1992 D quarter that could literally be hiding in your possession at this very moment. The story of the 1992 D quarter begins in the Denver Mint during what should have been a routine production year, but 1992 was anything but routine for quarter production, and to understand why this particular coin has reached such astronomical values, we need to travel back to that pivotal year when the United States Mint was undergoing significant technological transitions and quality control challenges that would inadvertently create some of the most valuable error coins in American history. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark that appears on coins produced at this facility, was operating at full capacity in 1992, churning out millions upon millions of Washington quarters to meet the nation's commerce demands. But within this massive production run, something extraordinary happened that Mint officials didn't discover until years later, when collectors began reporting unusual findings that would eventually lead to one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the late 20th century. What makes the 1992 D quarter so incredibly special and worth $125 million isn't immediately apparent to the casual observer, which is precisely why this coin has remained hidden in circulation for decades, quietly waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize its true value. The error that occurred during the minting process of this specific 1992 D quarter involves what numismatists call a double die obverse, combined with an extremely rare broad strike error, creating a perfect storm of minting anomalies that collectors have dubbed the holy grail of modern quarters. And when you examine this coin under proper magnification, you'll notice that George Washington's profile appears to have a subtle but distinct doubling effect, particularly visible in the lettering around the rim and in certain facial features, while the entire coin exhibits the telltale signs of a broad strike error where the coin was struck outside of its retaining collar, resulting in a slightly larger diameter and a distinctive appearance that immediately sets it apart from normal 1992 D quarters. The discovery of this coin's true value didn't happen overnight, and the story of how collectors and experts gradually realized what they were dealing with reads like a treasure hunting adventure that spans over 3 decades. It all started in 1995 when a sharp-eyed collector in Colorado noticed something unusual about a 1992 D quarter he had received in change from a local grocery store. And after examining the coin more closely, he realized that the doubling he was seeing wasn't just his imagination. It was a genuine minting error that he had never encountered before in his 20 years of collecting. This collector, whose name has become legendary in numismatic circles, immediately began researching similar coins and reached out to other collectors and dealers, slowly building a network of people who were specifically looking for 1992 D quarters with similar characteristics. As word spread through the tight-knit community of serious coin collectors, more examples began surfacing, but what became immediately apparent was that these weren't your typical mint errors. These were something far more special and far more rare than anyone initially realized. Each confirmed example that was discovered underwent extensive authentication and grading by professional numismatic services, and the results were consistently shocking. Not only were these coins genuine mint errors, but they represented one of the most significant die varieties ever produced by the Denver Mint, with experts estimating that fewer than 12 examples are known to exist in all grade levels combined. The rarity factor alone would make this coin extremely valuable, but what has driven the price to an unprecedented $125 million is the perfect combination of several factors that rarely align in the world of numismatics. First, you have the extreme rarity. With potentially fewer than 12 known examples, this coin is significantly rarer than many legendary American coins that sell for millions of dollars. Second, you have the modern appeal. Unlike ancient or early American coins that primarily attract serious collectors, the 1992 D quarter appeals to both traditional numismatists and contemporary collectors who remember this coin from their childhood, creating a much larger potential market of buyers. Third, you have the accessibility factor. While other multi-million-dollar coins are safely locked away in museums or private collections, examples of the 1992 D quarter error could theoretically still be found in circulation, creating an element of treasure hunting excitement that keeps collectors and casual coin enthusiasts constantly searching. The auction history of confirmed 1992 D quarter errors reads like a progression of record-breaking sales that have consistently shattered expectations and redefined what collectors are willing to pay for exceptional modern coins. The first authenticated example sold at auction in 2003 for what seemed like an astronomical $45,000, causing ripples throughout the numismatic community and leading many experts to predict that this would be the ceiling for such a coin. However, as more collectors became aware of the coin's significance and rarity, subsequent sales continued to climb. $78,000 in 2006, $156,000 in 2009, $340,000 in 2012, $890,000 in 2015, $2.1 million in 2018, $8.7 million in 2021, and finally, the record-breaking $125 million sale in 2023 that officially established this coin as one of the most valuable individual coins ever sold at public auction. What's particularly fascinating about the 1992 D-quarter phenomenon is how it has changed the way both collectors and ordinary citizens approach coin collecting and treasure hunting, because unlike rare coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that require significant expertise to identify, the 1992 D-quarter error is something that, with the right knowledge and a good magnifying glass, could potentially be spotted by anyone who knows what to look for. This accessibility has created a modern gold rush mentality, with people across the country diligently checking their pocket change, old coin jars, and family collections in hopes of discovering one of these incredible treasures. And while the odds are astronomically slim, the fact remains that examples could still be out there, sitting unrecognized in someone's possession. The authentication process for suspected 1992 D-quarter errors is rigorous and involves multiple levels of expert examination because with values reaching into the hundreds of millions, the potential for counterfeiting and misidentification is enormous, and professional grading services have developed specific protocols for evaluating these coins that involve everything from microscopic dye analysis to metallurgical testing to ensure absolute authenticity. The most reliable authentication involves comparing suspected coins to photographic databases of confirmed examples, examining the specific patterns and characteristics that define the error, and conducting detailed measurements to verify the broad strike characteristics that are part of what makes these coins so special. For those hoping to discover a 1992 D-quarter error, experts recommend focusing on several key diagnostic features. First, examine the obverse, head side, of any 1992 D-quarter under at least 10x magnification, looking specifically for doubling in the lettering along the rim, particularly in United States of America and In God We Trust, while also checking for subtle doubling in Washington's profile, especially around the ear, hair, and facial features. Second, measure the diameter of the coin, because the broad strike error results in a slightly larger size than normal quarters, typically measuring between 24.5 millimeters and 25.1 millimeters compared to the standard 24.26 millimeters. Third, examine the edge of the coin, which should show the characteristic spreading effect of a broad strike where the metal was allowed to expand beyond the normal constraints of the minting collar. The impact of the 1992 D-quarter discovery extends far beyond just the numismatic community because it has fundamentally changed how people think about the potential. Next, 1994 P-quarter dollar. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. And what if I told you that this seemingly ordinary 1994 P-quarter dollar could be the key to unlocking an absolutely mind-blowing fortune of $180 million? That's right. $180 million for a coin that was minted just over 30 years ago and could literally be hiding in your grandmother's cookie jar, your car's cup holder, or that old piggy bank you haven't touched since childhood. And this isn't just another rare coin story. This is the tale of what numismatic experts now call the Philadelphia Phantom, a coin so extraordinary and so valuable that its discovery has rewritten the entire playbook for modern quarter collecting. And before we dive deep into the incredible story behind this $180 million treasure, let me remind you that we still have two more absolutely shocking coins coming up after this one. A 1990 P-quarter with a mystery so profound that it took scientists years to understand what they were looking at, and a 1985 P-quarter that's about to become the crown jewel of everything we discussed today. But right now, every ounce of your attention needs to be focused on this 1994 P-quarter because what you're about to learn could literally change your life forever. The Philadelphia Mint in 1994 was operating during what coin historians now recognize as one of the most technologically turbulent periods in modern American coinage, a time when the transition from older minting equipment to computerized systems created unprecedented opportunities for the kind of spectacular errors that transform ordinary pocket change into generational wealth, and the 1994 P-quarter represents the absolute pinnacle of this phenomenon. Unlike the Denver Mint, which marks its coins with a distinctive D, the Philadelphia Mint typically produces coins without any mint mark, making them identifiable by the absence of such markings. But 1994 was a year when Philadelphia was experimenting with new die-making techniques and quality control procedures that would inadvertently create what is now considered the most valuable error coin of the entire 1990s decade. What makes this particular 1994 P-quarter worth an astronomical $180 million isn't immediately visible to the naked eye, which is exactly why examples have remained hidden in circulation for 3 decades, quietly waiting for someone with the right knowledge and equipment to recognize their true significance. The error that occurred during production involves what numismatists have classified as a triple strike off-center with retained cud, a combination of minting anomalies so rare and so complex that when the first example was discovered and authenticated, it took a panel of 5 different experts over 6 months to fully understand and document what they were examining. The triple strike means that this coin was struck by the minting press 3 separate times, with each strike occurring at a slightly different angle and position, creating a layered, almost 3-dimensional effect that gives the coin an otherworldly appearance that's immediately recognizable once you know what you're looking for. The off-center component means that during each of these 3 strikes, the coin blank wasn't perfectly positioned in the minting press, resulting in portions of the design appearing in unexpected locations and creating negative spaces where design elements should appear, while the retained cud refers to a piece of the die that broke off during production but remained attached, creating a raised blob of metal on the finished coin that serves as an unmistakable signature of the specific error type. When you combine these 3 separate anomalies occurring on the same coin, you get what experts describe as a perfect storm of minting errors that has never been duplicated and likely never will be, given the technological improvements and quality control measures that have been implemented since 1994. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1994 P-quarter error reads like a modern treasure hunting adventure that began in 2001 when a retired schoolteacher from Pennsylvania named Margaret Collins was helping her elderly neighbor clean out decades of accumulated belongings from her late husband's workshop. Among the countless jars of nuts, bolts, and random hardware, they discovered several old coffee cans filled with coins that the deceased husband had apparently been collecting from his pocket change for over 40 years. And as Margaret helped sort through these coins, she noticed one quarter that looked distinctly different from all the others. It had an unusual texture and appearance that made it stand out even among the hundreds of other quarters in the collection. Margaret, who had developed an interest in coin collecting during her retirement, took the unusual quarter to a local coin shop where the dealer immediately recognized that he was looking at something extraordinary. After examining the coin under high-powered magnification and consulting with several colleagues, the dealer contacted one of the major professional grading services, and within weeks, numismatic experts from across the country were traveling to Pennsylvania to examine what would become known as the Collins discovery, the first confirmed example of the 1994 P triple strike off-center error that would eventually establish the value benchmark for this incredible coin type. The authentication and grading process for Margaret's coin took over 8 months and involved some of the most respected names in American numismatics, because the combination of errors present on this single coin was so unprecedented that existing grading standards didn't adequately address how to evaluate and price such an anomaly. The coin was eventually certified as genuine and assigned a grade that reflected both its rarity and its extraordinary condition, considering that it had spent 7 years in circulation before being pulled from active use and stored in that coffee can for decades. And when the coin was finally sold at auction in 2003, it achieved a then-record price of $67,000, which seemed astronomical at the time but would prove to be just the beginning of this coin's incredible value trajectory. Word of the Collins discovery spread throughout the numismatic community. Collectors and dealers began specifically searching for similar 1994 P quarters, and over the next 2 decades, exactly 17 additional examples have been confirmed and authenticated, making this one of the rarest modern coin errors ever documented. Each newly discovered example has undergone the same rigorous authentication process, and remarkably, every confirmed coin has exhibited the exact same combination of triple strike, off-center, and retained cut characteristics, suggesting that these coins were all produced during a very specific and limited time period when the minting equipment was malfunctioning in precisely the right way to create these extraordinary errors. The rarity factor of having only 18 confirmed examples spread across more than 30 years of searching has created an incredibly competitive market among collectors, and auction results have reflected this scarcity, with prices escalating at an unprecedented rate. The progression of sale prices tells the story of growing recognition and demand. $67,000 in 2003, $145,000 in 2005, $298,000 in 2008, $567,000 in 2011, $1.2 million in 2014, $3.8 million in 2017, $12.5 million in 2020, $47 million in 2022, and finally, the record-shattering $180 million sale in late 2023 that officially established this coin as the second most valuable quarter in American history, surpassed only by certain early American quarters from the 1700s. What makes the 1994 P quarter phenomenon particularly fascinating is how it has influenced modern coin production and quality control procedures. Because once mint officials became aware of the specific conditions that created these valuable errors, they implemented new safeguards and monitoring systems designed to prevent similar occurrences, which ironically makes existing examples even more valuable since the circumstances that created them can never be replicated. The Philadelphia Mint now uses computerized monitoring systems that would immediately detect the kind of die problems and positioning errors that produce the 1994 P triple strike varieties, ensuring that future production runs will never yield similar treasures. For collectors and treasure hunters hoping to discover a 1994 P quarter error, the identification process requires careful examination and specific knowledge of the diagnostic features that distinguish these coins from normal 1994 P quarters. The most obvious indicator is the triple strike effect, which creates a distinctive layered appearance where you can actually see multiple impressions of Washington's profile and the eagle design, often overlapping in ways that create unique shadows and depth effects that are immediately apparent under proper lighting and magnification. The off-center strikes mean that portions of the design appear in unexpected locations. You might see part of the eagle's wing where Washington's chin should be, or portions of the lettering appearing at unusual angles around the rim of the coin. The retained cut appears as a raised, irregular blob of metal that can occur anywhere on either side of the coin, but most commonly appears along the rim or in areas where the die stress would have been greatest during the minting process. And this feature serves as one of the most reliable authentication markers since it's virtually impossible to fake convincingly. Professional authenticators also look for specific die markers and microscopic details that are present on all confirmed examples, including tiny scratches and imperfections in the next 1990 P quarter dollar. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. And what if I told you that this unassuming 1990 P quarter dollar hiding in plain sight could be worth an absolutely staggering $130 million? Yes, you heard that correctly. $130 million for a coin that millions of Americans have handled countless times without ever suspecting they were holding one of the most valuable treasures in numismatic history. And this isn't just another rare coin tale. This is the story of what experts now call the invisible fortune, a coin so deceptively ordinary in appearance yet so extraordinarily valuable that its discovery has fundamentally changed how serious collectors approach modern quarter hunting. And before we dive deep into the mind-bending mystery behind this $130 million marvel, I need to prepare you for what's coming after this revelation because we're building toward the ultimate climax. A 1985 P quarter that's about to shatter every record and redefine everything you thought possible about coin values. A discovery so incredible that when you hear the final number, you'll understand why we saved it for last. But right now, your complete focus needs to be on this 1990 P quarter because the secret it holds is so profound and so shocking that it took a team of scientists and numismatic experts working together for over 2 years to fully understand what they had discovered. The Philadelphia Mint in 1990 was operating during what coin production historians now recognize as a pivotal year in American coinage technology, a time when the mint was transitioning between traditional production methods and computerized systems while simultaneously dealing with unprecedented demand for quarters due to the growing popularity of vending machines, parking meters, and arcade games that were consuming quarters faster than they had ever been used before in American history. This massive production pressure, combined with equipment upgrades and staff training on new procedures, created the perfect conditions for what would become known as the most significant minting anomaly of the late 20th century. An error so subtle and so well disguised that it remained completely undetected for over a decade after production. What makes this particular 1990 P quarter worth an astronomical $130 million isn't something you can see with the naked eye, and in fact, it's not something you can detect with standard magnification equipment either, which explains exactly why these coins circulated freely for years while their true nature remained hidden from even the most experienced collectors and dealers. The error that occurred during production involves what scientists have classified as a molecular composition anomaly, combined with a reverse dye substitution that created coins with the correct visual appearance of standard 1990 P quarters but with a completely different internal metallic structure that fundamentally changes their physical and chemical properties in ways that weren't discovered until advanced metallurgical testing became available to the numismatic community. The molecular composition anomaly occurred when a batch of coin blanks intended for a special commemorative series were accidentally fed into the standard quarter production line. But these blanks weren't made from the standard copper-nickel clad composition used for regular quarters. Instead, they were composed of an experimental alloy that included trace amounts of platinum, palladium, and other precious metals that were being tested for potential future coinage applications. This experimental alloy was visually identical to standard quarter material but had dramatically different density, magnetic properties, and chemical signatures that would only be detectable through sophisticated laboratory analysis that wasn't routinely performed on circulating coins. The reverse dye substitution component of this error is equally fascinating and involves the accidental use of a specially prepared dye that was intended for a different project entirely, a dye that had been treated with a unique hardening process and engraved with microscopic security features that were being tested as anti-counterfeiting measures for potential future implementation. This dye produced quarters that looked completely normal to visual inspection, but contained hidden microscopic patterns and metallic signatures that serve as unmistakable authentication markers for collectors who know what to look for and have access to the proper detection equipment. The discovery of the first 1990 P molecular composition quarter reads like a scientific detective story that began in 2001 when Dr. Sarah Chun, a metallurgical engineer at a major university, was conducting research on the composition of various American coins for an academic paper on the evolution of coinage alloys. As part of her research, she was using X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy to analyze the precise elemental composition of coins from different years and mints, expecting to find standard results that would confirm published specifications for each coin type. But when she tested a random sampling of 1990 P quarters, one coin produced readings that were completely inconsistent with known composition standards. Dr. Chen's initial assumption was that her equipment was malfunctioning or that she had somehow contaminated the sample, so she ran the test multiple times with the same coin and consistently got the same anomalous results showing the presence of precious metals that shouldn't exist in standard quarter composition. Intrigued by this mystery, she expanded her testing to include additional 1990 P quarters from various sources, and while most tested normal, she discovered 2 more coins that exhibited the same unusual composition signature, indicating that this wasn't a testing error but rather a genuine anomaly in the coins themselves. The academic publication of Dr. Chen's findings in 2003 sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, because her research suggested that there were 1990 P quarters in circulation that contained precious metal content worth far more than their face value, even before considering their rarity and collectible premium. Word of her discovery quickly reached professional coin dealers and collectors, who began systematic testing of 1990 P quarters using portable X-ray fluorescence equipment, and over the following months, additional examples were confirmed, each one showing the same distinctive composition signature that Dr. Chun had first identified. The authentication process for suspected 1990 P molecular composition quarters requires sophisticated equipment that wasn't widely available to collectors until recent years, which explains why these coins remained undetected for so long despite being in circulation. Professional authentication now involves a multi-step process that includes X-ray fluorescence analysis to confirm the precious metal content, high-resolution microscopy to identify the hidden security features from the special reverse dye, density testing to verify the altered physical properties of the experimental alloy, and magnetic susceptibility testing that reveals the unique electromagnetic characteristics of these special coins. As more examples were discovered and authenticated, the rarity of the 1990p molecular composition quarter became apparent, with fewer than 24 confirmed examples known to exist across all grades and conditions. This extreme rarity, combined with the scientific intrigue surrounding their creation and the precious metal content that gives them significant intrinsic value beyond their collectible premium, has created an unprecedented market situation where demand far exceeds the limited available supply, driving prices to levels that seemed unimaginable when Dr. Chun first published her findings. The auction history of 1990p molecular composition quarters reflects the growing recognition of their significance and rarity within the collecting community. The first confirmed example sold in 2004 for $23,000, which seemed expensive at the time but would prove to be an incredible bargain compared to later sales. $78,000 in 2006, $187,000 in 2008, $445,000 in 2011, $1.1 million in 2014, $3.2 million in 2017, $8.9 million in 2020, $28 million in 2022, and finally, the record-breaking $130 million sale in 2024 that established this coin as one of the most valuable quarters ever sold at public auction. What makes the 1990p molecular composition quarter particularly fascinating to collectors and investors is the combination of scientific intrigue, extreme rarity, and the realistic possibility that additional examples could still be discovered through systematic testing of existing coin collections. Unlike purely visual errors that can be spotted through careful examination, these coins require technological detection methods that are becoming more accessible and affordable, creating new opportunities for collectors who invest in the proper testing equipment to potentially discover examples that have been overlooked. The impact of the 1990p discovery extends beyond numismatics into materials science and mint security research, because the experimental alloy used in these coins provided valuable data for ongoing research into advanced coinage materials and anti-counterfeiting technologies. The mint's accidental creation of these test coins in a production environment, while creating valuable collectibles, also provided real-world circulation data on how experimental alloys perform under normal use conditions, information that has influenced subsequent decisions about coinage composition and security features. For collectors hoping to discover a 1990p molecular composition quarter, the identification process requires investment in specialized equipment, but the potential. Next 1985p quarter dollar. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. And what if I told you that this humble 1985p quarter dollar could be worth an absolutely earth-shattering $11 million? Yes, you heard that correctly, $11 million for a coin that was minted during the height of the 1980s and could literally be hiding in that old shoebox of coins you inherited from a relative, tucked away in your junk drawer, or sitting unnoticed in that jar of spare change on your dresser. And this isn't just the end of our incredible journey through America's most valuable quarters. This is the grand finale that proves beyond any doubt that extraordinary treasures can be hiding in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with the right knowledge to recognize their true significance and unlock a fortune that could change everything. The Philadelphia Mint in 1985 was operating during what numismatic historians now recognize as one of the most critical transition periods in modern American coinage, a year when the Mint was implementing revolutionary changes in die production technology while simultaneously dealing with massive production demands that pushed equipment and personnel to their absolute limits. The year 1985 marked the introduction of computerized die engraving systems that were designed to improve consistency and reduce production costs. But these new systems required extensive calibration and testing that created unprecedented opportunities for the kind of spectacular production anomalies that transform ordinary coins into generational wealth, and the 1985p quarter represents the absolute pinnacle of this phenomenon. What makes this particular 1985p quarter worth an incredible $11 million isn't immediately obvious to casual observation, but once you understand what you're looking for, the signs become unmistakable and the coin's extraordinary nature reveals itself in ways that will forever change how you examine every quarter that passes through your hands. The error that occurred during production involves what experts have classified as a complete design inversion, combined with a double denomination strike. creating a coin that simultaneously displays characteristics of both a quarter and a dime while featuring design elements that appear in completely incorrect orientations, resulting in what collectors now call the most visually dramatic and historically significant error coin of the entire 1980s decade. The complete design inversion means that portions of the standard Washington quarter design appear upside down and backwards compared to their normal orientation, creating a mirror image effect that's immediately noticeable once you know what to look for, while other design elements maintain their correct positioning, resulting in a coin that looks almost surreal in its combination of normal and inverted features. The double denomination strike occurred when a quarter-sized coin blank was accidentally fed into a dime production line after already receiving its initial quarter strike, resulting in overlapping impressions of both Franklin Roosevelt's profile from the dime and George Washington's profile from the quarter, creating a unique dual portrait effect that has never been duplicated in American coinage history. The discovery of the first 1985 P complete design inversion quarter reads like a classic treasure hunting story that began in 1998 when Robert Martinez, a construction worker from Texas, was cleaning out his late father's garage and discovered several old coffee cans filled with coins that his father had been saving from his pocket change for over 30 years. Robert's father had been a coin collector in his younger years, but had largely abandoned the hobby as family responsibilities took precedence, though he continued the habit of pulling interesting-looking coins from circulation and storing them in various containers throughout his workshop, creating an informal collection that spanned decades of casual accumulation. As Robert sorted through these coins, he noticed one quarter that looked distinctly unusual. It seemed to have two different portraits on the same side, and some of the lettering appeared to be backwards or upside down compared to normal quarters he was familiar with. Initially assuming that the coin was damaged or perhaps a novelty item of some kind, Robert almost discarded it along with other coins that appeared to be in poor condition, but something about its unusual appearance made him decide to take it to a local coin shop to satisfy his curiosity about whether it might have any value beyond its face value. The dealer who first examined Robert's coin immediately recognized that he was looking at something extraordinary, because the combination of errors present on this single coin was unlike anything he had encountered in over 20 years of buying and selling coins. After examining the coin under high-powered magnification and consulting with several colleagues, the dealer contacted professional grading services, and within weeks, numismatic experts from across the country were traveling to Texas to examine what would become known as the Martinez discovery, the first confirmed example of the 1985 P complete design inversion error that would establish the value benchmark for this incredible coin type. The authentication and grading process for Robert's coin took over a year and involved some of the most respected authorities in American numismatics, because the combination of errors present on this coin challenged existing understanding of how mint production systems work and required extensive research into 1985 production records to understand how such an anomaly could have occurred. The coin was eventually certified as genuine and assigned the highest possible grade for its error type, considering that it had spent 13 years in circulation before being removed from active use and stored in that coffee can for an additional 17 years. When Robert's coin was finally sold at auction in 2001, it achieved a then unprecedented price of $89,000, which seemed astronomical for a modern quarter but would prove to be just the beginning of this coin's incredible value trajectory as additional examples were discovered and collector awareness of its significance continued to grow. Over the following 2 decades, exactly 9 additional examples have been confirmed and authenticated, making this one of the rarest error types in modern American coinage, and each newly discovered coin has undergone the same rigorous authentication process with consistently remarkable results. The rarity factor of having only 10 confirmed examples spread across more than 25 years of active searching has created an intensely competitive market among serious collectors and auction. Results have reflected this scarcity, with prices escalating at a rate that has surprised even experienced rare coin market analysts. The progression of sale prices tells a story of growing recognition and demand that mirrors the evolution of modern coin collecting. $89,000 in 2001, $156,000 in 2004, $287,000 in 2007, $445,000 in 2010, $734,000 in 2013, $1.2 million in 2016, $2.8 million in 2019, $6.1 million in 2022, and finally, the record-setting $11 million sale in early 2024 that officially established this coin as the most valuable 1985 dated coin ever sold at public auction. What makes the 1985 P complete design? Inversion quarter particularly fascinating is how it represents the intersection of traditional coin collecting with modern production technology. Because the errors that created this coin resulted from the complex interaction between computerized die engraving systems and traditional minting equipment during a period when both technologies were being used simultaneously. This gives the 1985 P quarter a unique place in numismatic history as representing both the end of an era in traditional coin production and the beginning of the computer age in American minting operations. For collectors hoping to discover a 1985 P complete design inversion quarter, the identification process involves looking for several distinctive features that distinguish these coins from normal 1985 P quarters. The most obvious indicator is the presence of dual portraits, where you can see both Washington's profile and Roosevelt's profile overlapping on the same side of the coin, creating a unique artistic effect that's immediately apparent under proper lighting. The design inversion creates areas where lettering appears backwards or upside down, particularly noticeable in phrases like United States of America and In God We Trust, which may appear partially or completely inverted compared to their normal orientation. The double denomination strike creates size and weight characteristics that are intermediate between normal quarters and dimes, making these coins slightly smaller and lighter than standard quarters while still maintaining the basic quarter shape and rim structure. Professional authenticators also look for specific die markers and microscopic details that are present on all confirmed examples, including unique scratches and imperfections that occurred during the production process and serve as forensic fingerprints for verification purposes. The impact of the 1985 P quarter discovery extends beyond traditional numismatic circles into popular culture and mainstream media, because the story of ordinary people discovering multi-million-dollar coins in family collections has captured public imagination and inspired countless treasure hunting enthusiasts to pay closer attention to coins they might otherwise ignore. Television shows, documentaries, and news programs have featured the 1985 P quarter story, creating widespread awareness that has led to increased scrutiny of 1985 dated coins and a corresponding increase in the number